Good evening and welcome. It's all about the 2014 FIFA World Cup. It's day 9. My name is Yemi Adebayo. That's how I welcome you to the Friday night edition of the show. There's a lot packed into the next 50 minutes, and I can assure you that there's a lot to enjoy on the show tonight. Of course, 2014 FIFA World Cup will dominate our thoughts. We'll be talking about it tonight. Later on the show, we hope to be joined via Skype by our man in Brazil, that's Toyin Ibitoye. And of course, as usual on Friday, we look at bar sports, and on focus tonight is chess. So that's the outlook of the show tonight. But let me quickly introduce my partners on the show tonight. It gives me so much pleasure to welcome back those guys. They've been away for a while, but now they're back on the show. Familiar faces on sports tonight. The twins. When I talk about the twins, very hard for me to differentiate, but they're here with me. Telema, let me quickly welcome you. I'm not going to miss the names tonight. So, Telema Davis. Am I right?
Yes, you are.
Okay, welcome.
Thank you very much.
And Tonte as well?
Thank you.
Okay, it gives me so much pleasure to welcome you guys to the show. And of course, let's bring to you the results of matches played today. By any chance you didn't get to see those games, maybe you need a confirmation of the results. That's it on your screen. We're going to talk about this, the implication of what you have on top. The Azuris, that's Italy, they lost to Costa Rica by 1 goal. And the game currently going on, France leading by 3 goals. Goals from Olivier Giroud, Blaise Matuidi, and Mathieu Valbuena, giving France a 3-goal lead. And of course, later tonight, Honduras and Ecuador. We'll focus on that, take a look at the stadium and all the whatnots. But guys, let me quickly allow you react to what is going on. Let me start with Tonte. Italy, did you see this coming?
Well, frankly speaking, yes, I did see it coming.
Okay.
On the worst case scenario, I expected a draw, probably a goalless draw.
Okay.
But at the same time, I estimated Costa Rica as a team not to be underrated. And I think that is just what Italy did against going into the game. They got caught, and they underrated Costa Rica. Because if you cast our mind back to the game against Uruguay, Costa Rica obviously went to that game as the underdogs. So many people, pundits, bookmakers gave the game to Uruguay. But Costa Rica, somewhat out of the blues, came from behind to win the game 3-1. And look at what they did today against the Italians.
Yeah, tell me, I mean, some people will say, well, against Uruguay, Luis Suarez didn't play, maybe it was a fluke, but surely today wasn't a fluke.
Definitely not. I'm actually surprised that that game actually did end 1-0, though in favor. It should have been more. In all fairness, it should have actually been more, because the Costa Ricans actually played their heart. They played with passion, they played with zest, they played with eager desire to actually win the tennis. They were out to prove a point, and they came close, or rather, they did come close to actually doing that.
Saying all of this will bring us to the question. What went wrong? Before we look at the consequence or the implications of this result, but Tonte, what went wrong for the Italians? We saw what they did against the English team, and I don't know, that's the big question mark. What went wrong for the Italians today?
I think one of the things that went wrong for the Italians has to do with the fact that they expectedly, Spello had to be their magic man from the center of the park, and he was obviously throwing in those long balls, which unfortunately for the Italians, the Costa Ricans seemed to trouble them somewhat at a certain point in time, but at the same time they also dealt with it. Despite jittering, they still came back into the game, defending thoroughly. The goalkeeper was alert, even with goals, with shots on goals coming from Balotelli. And one other thing that also seemed to work well for the Italians was the fact that these guys were dealing with them on the flanks. Because like the goal, for example, it came from the wide areas, and that was evidently a threat to the Italians, because we saw prior to that goal, we saw balls coming in from the flank areas and threatening the Italians in the defense.
Okay.
And in all fairness, the Costa Ricans, by our estimation, did not even play to full strength. By full strength, I actually mean putting out all their guns in the sense of if, for example,
still showed Italians
they
some
still showed
respect.
Italians some respect in some ways, and if they actually had played out the way
Could have
we
been
actually
worse
looked
for
at, it
Italy.
would have been worse for Italy.
Okay. Someone said you should be afraid of somebody that has nothing to lose. And I think that's what happened today. Those guys had nothing to lose. Win or lose, I mean, you wouldn't expect much from them. And they've gone out. They became the first team to qualify from that group. We thought it was going to be between Italy, England, and Uruguay. Surprise, surprise. Costa Rica in the second round. No matter what happens in the third game, they are through to the next round. But let me say this thing, jokingly, and how you guys respond. I thought back here we're the only ones who buy calculators and, try to say this one beats this one and all that. I didn't know the English do that as well. And up until Costa Rica got that goal, they were still hoping that they were going to pull through. But unfortunately, Italy's loss is a bigger loss for them.
Yes.
They're down and out, and one of Italy and Uruguay would also go home.
It goes to show that when in desperate seasons like this, like tournaments like this, regardless of whatever country you come from or whatever country you play for, the calculator is still irrelevant too.
It's part of it.
It's always going to sell in the market because people always there's that moment where you feel that somebody will drop points in your own favor for you to advance. But unfortunately, sometimes you could, when you press the tabs on the calculator, it could also have problems too, giving you syntax error.
Okay, so for the English team, I don't know, it's goodbye. But some would say that it was somewhat an improved performance. So is there any positive for the English? Tell them, is there any positive to take away from this?
There are positives.
They have their bags packed. They're going to play the third game, but they have their bags packed.
The question would be, would Roy Hodgson walk away with those positives? Because even for yesterday's game, the positives were actually out there before him to have actually played out his cards going into the game against Uruguay, but he did not. From the outset, he should not have even played Welbeck on the wings. Welbeck is not a winger. Okay. Welbeck cannot excel on the wings.
All right.
That said, even there was expectation that he would actually start up with Barkley or Lallana. Those are very good midfielders, creative in all right, and they were actually when they actually came on, we saw some changes that actually they did effect in the game as in the course of the outcome.
With all said and done, the Three Lions have their bags packed and they're going back home. So much for the hype, the new golden generation they call them, but they're back home. Let's talk about the game currently going on. Let me start with you, Telema. Did you see this coming? I thought the French were, a bit lucky in the first game. If you're the Blues fans, you won't agree with me, but I thought they were a bit lucky in the first game. But this one, there's no element of luck in this one. 3 goals up in the first half. 54 minutes of football action. It's still 3 goals up. I mean, you will have to be... it will take a lot to bet against the French not winning this game.
Sincerely, this is it's actually on stats. This is the first time since 1998 that the French would actually be winning 2 games back to back in group stage. And when they last did it, 1998, they went on to win the World Cup.
Exactly.
Now the question of will they go that far as well? Nonetheless, the French actually are bubbling. They are bubbling in spirit. They are bubbling in desire. They are bubbling in passion. They are bubbling in every right. They actually have the right pieces in the right places. It's just a matter of their opponents. It's a matter of their opponents. Would their opponents actually stand aside to actually let the French come all out and actually bedazzle them? That is actually what's going on in the game against Switzerland.
All right.
To add to it, I think one of the jigsaws that could work against the French will have to do with indiscipline in the course of a game. If they do not organize in terms of being disciplined, then it won't work in their favor. And I think so far, coming from their first game against Honduras and even now against Switzerland, they've shown quite a number. They've shown that form of that discipline which has been expected of them. They've shown that unity in team spirit going against Switzerland, because really a lot of people actually expected a draw going in this game, going against Switzerland. But look at what is happening right now. 3-0. That is not true.
All right, let's give you a confirmation of that result, just in case anything has changed. We told you earlier, the Italians lost. The French are currently leading. I'm surrounded by a lot of guys who are agitated, so we just had to see that again. Well, it's still 3 goals. 3 goals, just in case you're not watching. It's 3-3, and it's live, it's ongoing. It looks like the French might get more goals.
As long as they stay disciplined, just like Tante rightly put it, as long as they stay disciplined, as long as they remain organized, as long as the spirit is unified, second half, it's all over.
Yeah.
We also saw before they went to halftime, a penalty kick was missed. By Benzema. So that means they would have probably would have been 4-0 up by now.
A goal mouth scramble at some stage. It could easily have been 5.
Yeah, it could have easily have been 5.
Then
so
there's a question of FIFA ranking. The Swiss are 6th on the ranking. The French are 17th on the ranking.
Okay, I don't want to go into that controversy, but what you have on screen, we're going to do our own preview of the game tonight. The game that we played on later today. That's the game between Honduras and Ecuador. Both teams lost their first game. What you have on screen is the Baxada Stadium in Curitiba. This stadium hosted a game between Nigeria and Iran, and 2 more games will be played on the surface. It has a capacity of about 40,000, and it's a beautiful stadium. But I don't know if the draw Nigeria played on this ground would be a bad omen for the 2 guys. Both teams need to win. But beautiful pictures from the Baxada Stadium, and almost 40,000 capacity stadium, and it was renovated in 2009. A lot of money spent on that stadium. But let's talk about the football to be played on that stadium. Telema, I don't know. Are we going to see a draw? Ecuador and Honduras?
I'm going to be cautious, but however, I actually do see a draw. Now, but much more than a draw is the blood and sweat that actually might be spilled on that pitch.
Exactly.
Honduras and Ecuador are physical teams. I was actually frightened and really terrified in friendly matches coming into the World Cup, what these players actually were ready to do. They kept out Montes of Mexico.
What a lovely view of the stadium, and of course the fans and everybody there would surely enjoy themselves. But you were talking about the football.
The stadium is lovely, but I don't know if the game is actually going to be lovely, because as in, I'm really concerned. These guys are too physical. We might see red cards flying in this particular encounter tonight, and that would be too terrible.
Ecuador get red cards in friendly matches.
They are indisciplined.
Honduras,
they are very indisciplined.
I mean, the red card in the game against France.
That would just most likely overshadow the performance on the pitch.
You're talking about whether the stadium is jinxed to just coming from the backdrop of the Super Eagles against Iran. Well, I think we've seen that jinx because shortly after the game between the Super Eagles and Iranians, we saw Brazil and Mexico have a goalless draw. So, and I think we've left that department now. We're now in the department of goal scoring. Okay. Whether it is 1-0, 2-0, 2-1, there will be goals in the game.
Okay. My partners in the studio say there will be goals, and so we'll have to wait and see what will happen later tonight. We're going to go on a break right now. When we come back, we're going to make a switch. We're going to bring someone else on set, and we're still going to be talking football. And of course, we expect to be joined by our man, Toyin Bitoye, who's in Brazil.